In this lesson, we'll finish modeling our plumbing system by adding some ventilation and some P-traps to some of our fixtures. Okay, so we've got a lot of our progress. We're pretty much done with this project. What I'm going to do really quick is jump to my plumbing view here. And I'm going to jump to that west elevation so I can get a little more details on what's going on with our project. So you notice everything's color-coded nicely here. I can see everything that's going on. I know my connections here. I got T connections at this point. We're connected into our fixtures here with these circular graphics here. And everything is color-coded nicely. I'm going to change how these are displayed graphically really quick. I'm going to up my detail from medium to fine. That's going to show my pipes there. And we're going to add a shaded value to our graphic display here. Now I can really see what's going on. So what we're going to do next is we need to provide some ventilation to what's going on in the bathroom here. So to provide a nice flow for when we're disposing of some of the water and waste from these fixtures, we need to have that properly ventilated. And we'll probably do the same thing here for the kitchen as well. So before we do that, let's make a couple of quick adjustments. I want to connect these sanitary line into this main sanitary here. And I want to go ahead and connect this vent in there. And then we'll also make some adjustments to our elevations. And that's really the good thing about being able to work with this in three-dimensional, because if you're doing this on paper two-dimensionally, you won't get to see a lot of the problems that arise. Issues with like headroom and elevation and location of parts and pieces. So this is really helpful being able to do this in three-dimension. This is really why I like using this tool. So can you continue on and connect these pieces really quick. So I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom, and like we've been doing, we're going to jump to a thin line view here. So I'll just type in TL, and now let's go to our systems, and we'll hunt down a fitting. We will need a T fitting. We're going to align this perfectly with the midpoint there. And when I place this here, the only thing I need to do next is click on that item and rotate it just a bit so that it's in the proper orientation so that we can connect our pieces. Since we're in this view, let's go ahead and add our other T connection here on the bottom. So I'm going to hunt down a fitting here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on that item, rotate it one time, making sure it's faced that way. And I'm going to do my connection here in 3D view. A lot of times it just makes seeing the connection point a lot easier than trying to do it in a two-dimensional or a flat view like an elevation. So we'll start with this one. I'm going to click on that in, and we're going to click and drag into the proper position here. Perfect. Nice connection there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. So I'm going to click on that endpoint, drag point right there. We have a nice connection there. So now what we can do is we can adjust some of the elevations. Again, I mentioned a lot of these drains will actually be running in between the rafters and things of that nature, what's going on with this floor. So let's adjust the offset. So when I click on this one, I can tweak this just a bit. So right now we're about -3 feet, 2 inches and some change. So let's jump that up to about -1 foot. And once I make that change, I'll click apply, and you can see that elevations jump right up. And what that did was it positioned that drain nicely underneath my floor, and I'm assuming it's going to be in between my my studs and also my beams and stuff going on underneath that floor. Let's do the same thing to this one. I'm simply going to highlight it and adjust its position. So the great thing is when we're working with these, we can make adjustments as we need to. We can really tweak and massage this setup to really fit the design of this building. So now I can click apply, and the adjustment is made. So we're in good shape. So now let's add some ventilation so we can ventilate some of these fixtures, and I'll show you how we can go about doing that. Well, I know that we'll start here in the bathroom on top, so I know I'm going to need some extra length on this segment here because I want my vents to go about maybe 5 feet up, midway up that wall. So like we've been doing, I'm going to click on that endpoint, and I'm going to be mindful of that blue dashed line that lets me know I'm maintaining my slope and my position nicely. And I've adjusted that height there. And now I can jump to my second floor. And let's add some pipes really quickly. And let's do this in the plumbing view here so we know what we have to work around and what we're working with. And I'm going to up my detail to fine real quick. We don't need to change any color display. But I do want to start drawing some pipe in there, so we're going to add pipe. We're going to let Revit know that this is going to be a vent, so I'm going to go ahead and change that while I'm here. And it probably doesn't need to be 6 inches thick. That's a little overkill, so we can maybe bump that down to 4. And we definitely want to maintain our slope, and we're going to want to slope down that 1/4 inch every foot And for right now, I want to get rid of that 9-foot offset. Remember, we are going to start our piping about 5 feet roughly. We can tweak that as we go. So I'm going to change that offset to about 5 feet. That probably won't take into account the slope, but we can always reposition after we get it into place. So now I can simply draw, and I'm not going to draw to connect just yet. I'll do the connecting in 3D. So I'll definitely fall a little bit short of these vertical stacks, but that's not a problem. So I'll simply click my origin and we'll click to this point. And now I can jump to 3D view to make sure my position is right. And we can add our connections. You can see our diameter is smaller. It's a different color coding system for that one. So far, so good. So again, I'm going to click and drag this one up. Just add some extra length to this segment, because when I connect this to this segment, I need to make sure I have enough room on this end for that T connection. And if we don't, Revit will give us a warning message and we'll have to deal with that. So now I can add my connection pieces really quickly, like we've been doing. We'll go back to Systems, we'll hunt down the T connection, and we'll get him placed right there. And Revit will automatically position that for me nicely. Save me a couple of extra steps. Same thing there. And now I can simply click and drag and connect where I need to go. And you'll notice it is connected properly. You'll see either a transition piece, or you'll notice a slight pause in Revit because it's thinking and making its adjustments to get these pipes connected. So those are two good ways that you'll know what's going on. You'll see that there. Again, you'll notice a slight pause, and you also notice my transition pieces connecting nicely into the connector there. So we're in good shape. So now what we want to do is let's add one vertical ventilation system here, and I'll show you how we can link a fixture to that. So we're going to take the same approach that we've been doing. We're going to go back to Systems. Let's hunt down another T connection. And let's jump to West Elevation, because I know I made some marks in my West Elevation. I know that my ventilation is going to run directly down the middle here following this reference plane that we set earlier. So let's go ahead and get that set. So we'll add our T connection to this point right here. And looks like we're probably going to have to do some flipping. Not a problem. I'll simply click on it and rotate it one time here. Get it to its proper position. And we should be able to just use our Connect To button at this point. So I'm going to click on that connection point. I want to connect it into this pipe. And bingo. Perfect. So a lot of times you'll notice in your plumbing systems, things might not be directly plugged or connected into a drain. A lot of times they may be connected into a vertical ventilation stack similar to what we have here. And we can accomplish this really easily in Revit. So I can jump to 3D view, and we could probably use our Connect To button to get this accomplished. So what I'll do is I'll click on that item, connect into this pipe. And you'll notice we have an issue doing that. But that's not a problem. We can deal with that in just a minute here. So really all we need to do is move this ventilation pipe over just a bit. So I can click on that, and we can click our move button. I'm simply going to click and drag to a new position, getting them out of the way of our connection that we might need when we're connecting these pieces. So let's see if we can connect it again here. So I'm going to go select on my fixture, connect into this pipe. Still getting that same warning message. So that's just Revit letting me know there's still not enough room. So we got to make another small adjustment here. So let's go ahead and let's click on that pipe again. We'll click move. And again, I'm simply going to click and drag until I get him in a position where he's not going to be tangled up with my connection. So let's give it another shot here. We'll go connect on our fixture, connect into this pipe. And voila, we've got a nice connection there. Definitely got plenty of ventilation, so I'm not too worried about plugging into a ventilation system there. So we could do the same thing with the rest of our fixtures here. So I could take my toilet, I can connect into this drain. I can take my bathtub, connect into this drain. And we can basically keep this process going. For this one here down on the bottom, we can actually have this washer and dryer drain into this ventilation system. So we can connect into, coming out of our sanitary, into this pipe. And it will create a real quick, neat connection. So we can definitely avoid potentially flooding our basement with some of our items down here. So we have most of our items connected. Let's go ahead and finish connecting our kitchen. And I'm going to show you how we can change some of those basic connections we have to represent more of a real world scenario. So I'm going to click on that item, connect into, go out of my sanitary line to this pipe. So when we were placing our connections, you'll notice most of them, or all of them, did not come equipped with our P-trap, or that U down here, that little P-trap that'll help block out the gases from coming out of our fixtures and into our home. So how can we go about getting this done? Well, it's really easy in Revit, just a few steps. So I'm just simply going to scroll around a little bit here, and I'm going to highlight this corner here. And what this is our elbow. And what we need to do is replace that elbow with a P-trap and tell Revit that that P-trap has the same function as an elbow. That way I can highlight an item like this and simply replace it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert tab. We're going to load a family, and we're going to go down here to Pipe. And we have a lot of options to choose from, but we're going to focus on fittings. We want to find a PVC fitting, Schedule 40, socket type, and we want to go with this DWV folder here, and we're looking for a P-trap, so it'll probably be trap P. Here we go, Schedule 40 DWV, exactly what we need. So now that I have them here, let's bring them into our project. So I'm going to go to Systems, let's go to Component, and you'll notice I can click and place them. So for right now, I'm just going to place them anywhere, and I'm going to double click on that item, taking me to its massing or family view here, and we're going to adjust some parameters and reload this back in. So right now, this part, according to Revit, acts as a multi-port. And I mentioned earlier we want to tell Revit that this is going to act as an elbow, so we can easily go in and change our elbows to be P-traps where we want that to happen. So I'm going to look for a way to change its part type to elbow. And once I click that, I'll click Apply, and we'll load him back into our project. And I'm going to overwrite that existing version. We really don't need this guy anymore, so I can go ahead and delete him. But now that we went ahead and made that change in Revit, I can now click on that elbow, and in my drop down, we can select our P-trap and replace it like so. So not only are we connected to the drain properly, we're also represented nicely and have a nice P-trap here, which is a little more representative of what's going on in a real-world scenario. Very rarely would you see a connection without that P-trap. So there you have it. We've learned to quickly and efficiently model a really simple plumbing system for a residential project using Revit MEP. We started out by placing a bunch of fixtures throughout our residential project, and we used stacks, drains, vents, and supply lines to basically tie everything together. We also learned to establish a functional relationship within our system by defining the components that were placed in Revit. So some components were fixtures and some components can be equipment. And in our case, that was our hot water heater. So now that you have understanding how to model a basic plumbing system, you should be well equipped enough to handle more complex projects. And with these same techniques and principles, you should be able to get your job done correctly and efficiently.